We're going to kick off this evening with a panel made up of both social entrepreneurs and some of the supporters who've supported us. So I'd like to welcome on stage now Momobo Goro, the co-founder of Gurrum, who are looking to unify socially across cultures. I'd like to welcome Niamh Talon and Mohammed, who are looking at gender equality in sport, irrespective of gender. To Serka Killian from Hygiene Hub, who is addressing the issue of hygiene poverty. And three of our supporters, Siobhan Curtin, the country lead of eBay, Fernando Vicario, the European CEO of Bank of America, and Ethna Lynch, the pro bono partner from A&L Goodbody. Thank you all for joining us. You're all very welcome. Momobo, you're the furthest away, so you're getting the first question. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of Gurrum?
Yeah, so Gurrum actually started 4 years ago in my room during COVID-19. During a time where we were all kind of stuck in our rooms, having really hard conversations regarding social and cultural issues. I imagine a lot of us remember Black Lives Matter that was happening at the time. Gurrum was like an idea, but that was sort of like my instigation moments to get things going. We were having conversations around social, cultural issues around racism in Ireland, but I really felt that it was happening in silos, and we needed to have a space where those communities can actually come together across social, cultural, political differences and come together to have those difficult conversations. So Gurrum actually started as an online, because everything was online at the time, online community project regarding conversations and really distributing that to digital media. And now we've kind of developed our work in not only creating online communications and online campaigns, but actually supporting communities to elevate their voices through media and campaigning, and also supporting businesses as well. But one thing I want to say, Tim, is that I actually had just a really big reminder today of why Gurrum exists and why we need to be doing what we need to do. So currently, as we're speaking, there is a massive anti-migrant protest that's happening right now in the city centre. And during these times, I get a bit of hopeless, to be honest, because I'm like, okay, you're doing all this work to bridge across differences, supporting communities and businesses to really have that intercultural understanding. But then these things happen and I just get low. But it's with the support of SEI and with their team that it really remind me to be hopeful, to be honest, and remind me to move forward in the mission, because this kind of work takes years to happen. So 4 years ago, I did the Ideas Academy. I actually saw it on a Facebook ad. I was like, okay, let me actually do something that's actually going to do it. I was procrastinating on my PhD research at the time. And from the Ideas Academy, I learned about what a social enterprise was. And I also learned about what a social entrepreneur was. And I learned about, okay, you can actually create a business for impact. You can actually do this for a living. So I was like a one-woman show for like 2.5 years after learning it, developing our business model. And in 2023, we were awarded the Changing Ireland Accelerator, where everything just accelerated up, and we had the capacity to really look deep, slow down as a team actually, to look deep into what we actually want to do, really define our impact measurement, define our business model, and really grow as an organization. So Gurrum as an organization, our whole mission is to unify across differences and advance belonging for marginalized communities, namely migrant and ethnically diverse communities. And we do that through 3 ways: to elevate the voices of underrepresented communities. We do different campaigns. We actually have a show on News Talk called Unified, which we share the voices of people in underserved and underrepresented communities. We enable communities and support them. Our goal is, again, unifying, but through narrative change as well. So support these communities to access the media industry, because to change culture, to change narratives, people need to see it. So we need media and we need that knowledge to move forward. So we have access programs to support young people from migrant and ethnically diverse communities to enter into the media industry. And then lastly, on a social enterprise level, we work with organizations. A lot of people think like I'm a media person, but my background's actually social psychology and social psychologist. So applying all of that through learning and education. So we support support organizations, communities in terms of intercultural competence, intercultural communication, training and education, and we do so on an ongoing basis. So that's kind of like the work that we do, and the main mission and impact of all of it is to really spark what I feel we need now in Ireland, is really spark that movement of unity.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Niamh, can you tell us a little bit about Her Sport and your mission and maybe some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, so with Her Sport, we are the voice for girls and women in sport. 1 in 2 girls drop out of sport by the age of 20. And I think something for everybody in this room is to realise that you're all impacted by that, whether it's your daughters, your sisters, your friends, maybe yourself. We're all impacted by girls and women dropping out of sport. So for us, sport is much more than the winning and losing on the pitch, whether it is running on the track or swimming in the pool. It's so much more than that. It's about the connections, it's about the community, it's about networking, it's the physical and mental health that we've been talking about for so many years, and then also about the personal and professional development. One of the statistics that we talk about a lot is that 94% of women in executive managerial positions have a background in sport. Yet we have 1 in 2 girls dropping out of sport by the age of 20. So that's something that really stops people in their tracks and really makes them think about the impact of all of these, girls dropping out of sport. For me, people ask me, what was the founding story or how did I get into it? And I suppose sometimes expect this really horrible experience that I've had in sport, but in fact, for the most of it, it's the complete opposite. Like, I am who I am because of sport. I have all my network, my community, and all the skills that I've gained from that, and really looked around, I suppose, at my peers and at young girls dropping out of sport and couldn't understand, why so many people were walking away from it, and felt that there was, I suppose, so much of life that was missed. I felt it was unjust, similar to Momo and everybody else that you're going to speak into here tonight, and wanted to do something about that. So. In terms of the work that we do it through 2 key pillars of visibility and of education. So through the visibility work that we do, we provide daily media coverage to our community of over 250,000 people across our social media platforms and across our website, showcasing and profiling all the amazing athletes that are out there. A lot of excitement over the Olympics and the Paralympics, as well as Women's World Cup that was last year, and all of those great things. And I think something that people definitely said after this summer of sport was how much it lifted society as well. And I'd like to see some research to back that up and really see what it did for Ireland as a nation. So we're trying to make sure that those athletes are there, and the role modelling is there. 6% of sports media coverage goes to girls and women in sport, so that's why visibility, and that's why the key pillar is so important for us. And then we also have the pillar of education. So we go to schools, to clubs, and to businesses and deliver educational workshops. We talk about the barriers that girls and women face and how to overcome them. And I think it's so important to talk about all of these things that girls are experiencing. We were talking earlier a little bit about, in coaching, if you think of pitch sports, if you think about your local GAA club, of the rugby club, of the soccer club, and predominantly coaches are still male. So how are we expecting them to know what a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old girl is going through, that they might be worried about having their period, or they might be worried about, the hair on their legs? And we have heard of kids that don't go training because they haven't shaved their legs. So what we're trying to do is educate the girls, instill the confidence in them, but also educate the parents, the coaches, the teachers, the schools, the clubs, to ensure that they're putting the best systems and processes and structures in place for girls to be there, and for them to have the opportunity to succeed in sport. I'll leave you on one last story. We were contacted by a group of transition year students a couple of years ago, and they told us about reaching a national final, and I suppose the excitement and the pride that you get from doing that in their sport. The school basically didn't care. The girls were getting in touch with us because they had a direct comparison in a mixed school where the boys got into a regional competition. Buses were booked, the whole school was brought to watch the competition. They had bought kit and jerseys and supported the boys and really rolled out the red carpet for them. And for these girls, they had reached a national final. They had done something that they were so proud of. And what really strikes me is, through primary school and through secondary school, we're teaching children about equality. but they're not experiencing it in their own school. So they're having conversations about it, but they're not actually living it. The school is not living it. So for us, it's still so important to make sure that this is really high on the agenda, because we represent 50% of the population, but we're making a difference for all of the population, because sport can reach everybody across the country.
Thank you. Fernando, can I ask you, and Bank of America have been such great supporters of ours, how does collective ambition resonate with Bank of America's support of the Ideas Academy over the last 7 years?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Tim, for having me here tonight. It's an honor and a pleasure to see this energy in this room. And before I answer your question, I met 6 entrepreneurs tonight, and I'm going to describe them for you before I answer your question. The description is energy, passion, tenacity. That's what I got in basically 45 minutes from 6 different entrepreneurs. So to be here is a reflection of our commitment to our responsible growth strategy. We don't go into market just to do business. We go into market to engage with our communities. We go into market to engage with communities that are represented by great organizations like yours. In fact, congratulations for the 20th anniversary, but for us, congratulations because it's our 7th year of partnership with you and with your fantastic team. And what you make us feel is that clearly you move the needle. The amount of ideas that come through are amazing, and they move society, and they give back to society in a very constructive way. The corporate world is very protective. Big organizations like mine, we have an infrastructure which is global in nature. We get lots of trainings. But when I think about what entrepreneurs achieve here, it's hard work. And you entrepreneurs should feel that you are supported by many large organizations that understand the need to actually help you at the beginning of your journey. And then when you take off, hopefully one day you take us over. But that's a bit our thinking around the world of supporting activities. So great job of Social Entrepreneurs Ireland.
And thank you, and thank you again for your support. How do you feel that social entrepreneurship promotes economic and social mobility in local communities?
Well, if I'm correctly briefed by my colleague, Kelly Jo Leahy, who is sitting here in the second row, there are 4,300 social entrepreneurs in this country. And I'm a numbers man. I hope you can forgive me. 2.3 billion euros in revenues. That's a lot of wealth creation. But more importantly, the ability to provide opportunity to actually folks really make their dreams come through. For us in Bank of America, we are not here to only write a check. The real ambition is to engage personally with our colleagues. So in the Ideas Academy, for example, we have had the opportunity to engage with 200 of these fantastic ideas producers. And these folks, they open up our minds. It's not to be about sitting in a bank and doing your job in different parts of an institution, but also understand what the real economy is about. So I insist, it's a pleasure and a luxury to be 7 years in a row your partner, which is also a reflection of many other partnerships that we have that perhaps do not enjoy the longevity, but we definitely believe.
No, well, thank you, and thank you for the support. Circa, can I ask you to talk to us a little bit about your impact so far, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim. So it's very fitting, as I was on the Impact programme, so I should know what impact is by the end of 9 months. And we actually really had a journey with Hygiene Hub learning about our impact. For anyone who's not aware of the work that we do, so Hygiene Hub is the sole organisation in Ireland focused on tackling hygiene poverty. And hygiene poverty is the inability to afford or access essential hygiene items, such as soap, shampoo, laundry detergent. But when we talk about impact, what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, the impact of hygiene poverty is often, as with all poverty, missed opportunities. So it's not going to a job interview because you don't have a clean suit. It's a child missing out on school or a GAA match because they don't have a clean kit, or they have head lice, and a bottle of head lice shampoo costs €12, and that's infeasible. It's an elderly person isolating from their community because their home's not clean. And to be clear, these aren't, vague examples. These are realities of people we've supported in the last week, month, year. And so when we think about our impact, hygiene poverty doesn't operate in a silo. and so neither do we. We work collaboratively with other organisations, with 97 community partners across Ireland, where we build ourselves into their services in ways that are innovative, that are respectful, that provide dignity and understanding. We provide education services so that you're not just receiving an item, but you're learning about the impact. And what we learn is that when we engage with other services, we open doors to other opportunities. And I'd like to give an example of one. So we work in a hub model. We have hubs based in many different counties in Ireland. And so in our Tipperary hub, we ran a pilot program with some schools, with homeschool liaison officers. And they worked with 12 families that had incredibly low attendance rates in school. And so we started offering hygiene kits every 2 weeks of both personal and household items to these families. And attendance in schools went up across the board by 85% because we had reduced a barrier. And so when we talk about impact, we're very privileged that we have some really hard numbers. We know that we've distributed over 68,000 kilos in the last few years. We know that that supported over 21,000 families with a range of items. We also know that by tracking the cost of goods, that the cost of hygiene items for a full kit's gone up by 26% in the last couple of years. And that last year, in the first 6 months, we had to increase our operations by 75% to match need. And we have waiting lists. So when we talk about impact, it's not just the bottle of shampoo. It's not just the deodorant. It's the opportunity that extra breathing space gives you. And I think what's so important with impact is we tend to think really big. We're like, how do we solve this massive problem? But when we started, we were 3 strangers that met on an online volunteer messenger board that have now created this beautiful community. And every single person here and every single person on this couch was once a person in their bedroom with an idea. And so there's no reason why everyone in this audience can't take out their phone, follow us on social media, talk to your employer about hosting a corporate drive, find out where your local hub is and become a volunteer, because there's so many ways that a 20-minute thing out of your week can make someone's life so much easier and lead to future education opportunities, lead to that job interview, lead to that, and you just need to take that initial step to help people get on their way.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done.
Okay.
Siobhan, eBay have been such great supporters of ours as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about that support?
Yeah, absolutely, and congratulations on such a milestone, 20 years. We in eBay are celebrating our 20 years in Ireland as well, so that's not where the synergy ends. I think, the partnership over the last since 2019 has been amazing, and we've been able to give some of our eBay Foundation Global Give grants across those years. And really, when we see today all of these amazing entrepreneurs that are making tangible numbers, all of these people have spoken data and numbers about the impact they're making. It makes us so proud to be part of these programs. Some of the things that we've helped with is your Spark program, and we know that there's a couple of entrepreneurs here today that we've helped, such as Her Together, and we've also helped out the Action Lab. And our team, it's not just financially, we actually have dedicated hundreds of hours to Social Entrepreneurs Ireland, your staff, and also with the entrepreneurs, with lots of pro bono work. One of the things that we're really proud of is our service design studio, which is one of our teams in eBay, spent 60 hours on the community hub and the Spark toolkits. And I know today they're still downloaded, I think, at 2 per day, and there's been over 1,200 downloads. And for us to see that impact in Ireland and across Ireland has just been amazing. So we're so proud to be here today.
Brilliant. No, thank you. And can I ask, from an internal eBay perspective, and how you approach change making, how do you use that expertise to help drive impact?
Yes, and we have so much expertise, and we are so lucky to have such a talented team across a wide range of diverse skill set, thought leaders in industry. So some of the things that we have really impacted is things when people are setting up and they have people issues or they need help with some HR advice and guidance. We've had folks that are needing a bit of business acumen. We're really about driving. How do you get to that business model that's sustainable? How do you get to that growth? And a lot of our employees have been really helpful to the entrepreneurs on that. We've done a lot of things, even we've had talks where some of the essential entrepreneurs have come into our building and talked about the work that they do. And the more we do that, the more we get all of this skill set trying to sign up and say, how can we do that? We've such a spirit of giving in eBay Ireland, so much so that I'll talk about some numbers again. 50% of eBay Global's workforce, the volunteer hours come out of eBay Ireland. So if you think about the magnitude of that, we really feel like giving people the opportunity to give back in a meaningful way ties back to our purpose. Our purpose is about providing economic opportunity for all, and our team and our teammates giving back into the community, such as SEI, has been really, really powerful. And the hours that we're giving back and the personal commitments and the personal relationships that we've made with all of your staff have been more rewarding, I think, for us than maybe for you at times, and we have learned so much.
Yeah, well, no, thank you, and they've been very rewarding for us too, rest assured. Ethna,
Tim.
what does community mean to A&L Goodbody, and how does it guide your work?
It's absolutely central, and just thank you for letting us join in the celebration tonight. You know, when I was listening to Momobo, and when I hear that there's a demonstration on the streets tonight, that really affects me. And when I think about community, it is about, let's find that shared space. Let's see where we connect, where we can support each other. And that's kind of, I suppose, has led the work that we do. You know, we've a long sustaining partnership from SEI through, philanthropy, through pro bono, through volunteering opportunities. Every year, we can't believe you're still finding such brilliant, creative people. We're so inspired by them. And as we're kind of listening to them, we know that what's core to their success is focusing on the solution. So focus on what it is that you're trying to achieve. So then, I suppose, in terms of where A&L Goodbody comes in is, we'll look at, as lawyers, we do have unique skill sets that we like to think we do through our training, and really that's about identifying risk. Looking at, okay, you have this amazing idea, but have you thought about how you want to structure it? Have you looked about registration? Have you looked about negotiating commercial contracts? Have you explored about going from a volunteering model to an employee-employer relationship? Maybe sometimes those tensions between founders and boards of directors. So they're all of the things that we'll provide pro bono, and that's kind of, I suppose, what we hope to be able to bring to some people on the panel here and to the wider community. And the final point I'd make is, I suppose, when we do that work, our hope is that it gives peace of mind so that the entrepreneurs can really focus on tackling some of these big systemic issues. And I think some of the panelists have touched on it. They're not siloed, they're not individual. These are issues that are impacting Ireland, and I think we all have a stake in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you say, A&L have been one of our longest partners. I've been really impressed at how your strategy has evolved over the years. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about that and how it impacts onto the work that you do with us?
Sure. So I would say certainly the leadership in the firm very early on recognised that it was a key priority for the leadership and invested heavily in hiring individuals that can support the implementation of that. But 2 years ago, myself and our head of responsible business, Sinead Smith, and the leadership team, we very much sat down and we wanted to have a clear goal of where we wanted to get to. And what informed that really was, we know that what's happening globally, whether it's the climate crisis, whether it's mass migration, when we see the attack on the rule of law in so many different jurisdictions, that is not out there. How that impacts it, it does feed into what is, important to us as a business. So we did come up with a new strategy, and with that we called it Our Future with Purpose. And it's looking about how do we have key performance indicators? How are we tracking that what we're doing is having positive social impact? And for us, one of our key partners, and Tim, you and I spoke about this, is you have been with us on that journey. And one of the, I suppose, changes that we certainly have been really proactive in the last 18 months is bringing others in the legal profession along with us. So you and I would have sat down kind of probably about 18 months ago, and I said, I have this idea, and I'd like for us to engage with in-house legal teams to create this network where we can kind of come together and provide our pro bono legal support to SEI, but also to your extensive alumni network. And we've had some really successful events where we've been able to pitch it at legal assistance at that early stage when you're considering what you want to do, but then also with those closed door meetings where it's people further along the journey and really thinking about like next steps and where they want to go.
Yeah, no, it's been a really powerful idea, so thank you for bringing that to us. Circa, can I ask you, what's ahead for Hygiene Hub?
Oh, what's ahead? We actually, as part of the program, we got some time. And as any social entrepreneur knows, time is the most valuable resource. We got some time to think about what we're looking for, and we're lucky to have very clear goals. In the short term, it's all about service distribution. There is immense need in Ireland right now, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. There is immense need, and we're just not fulfilling all of it at the moment. So we're looking to open up new hubs, specifically actually in Limerick and in Louth. So if anyone here, or if your mother's, brother's, sister's, husband's, hairdresser's wife is in either of those places, please do let us know. You can find us on @HygieneHubIrie. It takes one volunteer to set up a hub, and it really changes the lives of the community around you. But you know, in the long term, we want hygiene poverty formally recognised as a deprivation indicator. It's currently not measured properly at all at government level. As I said, it's not tracked properly in terms of measurements of baskets of goods, and there's not really any budgetary supports that people can pull down on it, which is why it's increasing rapidly. People are being forced to make difficult choices between a loaf of bread and, you know, a thing of soap, and that's not a situation anyone should be in. And so recognition at that policy and at that government level is fundamental for long-term support. And I think collaborative action is the only way to do that. You know, we had a lovely, at the end of the Impact programme, there was this lovely line saying we were never supposed to do it alone. And we've never been doing it alone. Since day one, we've been working with incredible organisations to move it forward, but that's because that is the only way. You cannot solve one aspect of a problem. You have to tackle the problem at the systemic root, and I think all of us agree with that. But I would like to actually add on to the story that I said earlier about the children in Tipperary, because it's a lovely story. But you know, the homeschool liaison officer told us that she was walking home one day, and a young boy, a teenager, crossed the road to her who'd been in receipt of the items, and he said, "Thank you," and that's lovely. It's also unacceptable that a teenager has to go to someone and thank them for soap. That's something we think is okay. That he went without that 85% rate that was so achievable was so easily forgotten about because essential access to items wasn't provided. And so our long-term goal is and always will be universal access to hygiene items, because that is a solvable problem. In one of the richest countries in Europe, there's no world that that's not solvable. But as I said, we need every single person here to work with us to do it.
Yeah. Accelerated social change through the power of people. Mohammed, could you tell us a little bit about the vision for women in sport and her sport in the future?
The vision is simple: equal opportunity in sport regardless of gender. And the question is why? Because girls who play sport become women who lead. I didn't just make that up, that's actually a fact. Niamh said 94% of women in executive managerial positions have a background in sport. So that shows you the value that sport has on people's lives. Sport literally has the power to transform lives, change gender biases, and so on and so forth. I think in terms of the vision, it's important to give some context. So 60 years ago, in 1964, Maeve Kyle was the first and only Irish woman to represent Ireland at the Olympic Games. 60 years later, this summer, we had 66 women. So there is progress there. That it was less than 1% away from gender balance, 50-50 split. So there is progress being made, but that's at the highest level. There's still so much work that needs to be done at grassroots level. If you look at, again, as Niamh mentioned, from the education aspect, that's so important. Like, education is the passport to the future. So when you look at things like training, how much training do people get around body confidence, body image, dealing with girls dropping out of sport because of their menstrual cycle, societal attitudes, culture in clubs? Like, I could sit here all day and name so many different things that need to change. And I think from my perspective, and maybe why I'm involved with Her Sport, is the male angle, in terms of when you look at coaches, when you look at administrators in clubs, it's still predominantly men, let's be honest. So we need to be part of the solution. It's not just a Women for Women organization. It's not just a Women for Women problem. Men need to speak up. Men need to maybe put their ego aside and start listening, because that's how my eyes and ears were opened when I started hearing the problems that exist and the privilege that I had. I got the best coaches. I got all the facilities. People were coming with buses to watch our games, and no one cared about the girls' games, even though they were probably better than us. So that needs to change. And yeah, in terms of the education side, we're launching our Her Sport Foundation on the 8th of November to really allow us to deliver these workshops in schools, deliver these workshops in sports clubs, because we see the power of education. And I know the timer is running out, so I won't be too long. But again, going back to it, 94% of women in executive managerial positions have a background in sport. That's not a coincidence. And if 1 in 2 girls are dropping out of sport, something's wrong, and that's what we're trying to change. So, yeah.
No, thank you. One final question. How do we build trust across our communities to build a future for us?
I think when it comes to trust building, it's finding and creating spaces of belonging. So each and every one of us want to feel like we belong. When you think of, there's a thing called Maslow's hierarchy of need. A lot of us know what it is. At the bottom is having those basic care needs that you're talking about in terms of hygiene and everything. But then at the top is this level of just self-actualization and feeling that you are in a space where you can thrive and where you can belong. A lot of times when we want to build trust between communities, is finding a space where both communities feel like they belong. And a lot of times, particularly what we're even seeing now, and our work, we tend to focus in the migration space, is that certain communities do not feel like they belong in Ireland. So what we need to do as a country, as individuals, as people especially that hold power, we need to try to start to find places or find communities where we can actually build a space of belonging. And how do we do that? So in our organization, and especially when we deliver a lot of our services in terms of intercultural competence training and intercultural communication, it's supporting people to not just say, and a lot of times when we're talking about like communities that are marginalized and underrepresented, is that people think like, how do I help them? How do I help them? But a lot of times when it comes to actually creating trust and belonging, is people really reflecting on themselves and reflecting on how am I building an environment that trust can thrive, if you get what I mean. So a lot of people don't really understand that and do that self-reflection. And secondly, I would like to say is that when it comes to building that trust and building, bridge building essentially, it's about creating a third place, and there's a lot of psychological research. I really recommend you all read the work of John Powell. He's of the Othering and Belonging Institute in UC Berkeley, but it's creating a third space. It's not this idea of what is, when you do that self-reflection, you understand what's your space, you understand the things are that in your environment, but oftentimes you don't understand the space of other communities. So it's creating that space that it's not necessarily my space, it's not necessarily your space, it's our space. And my personal opinion is that in Ireland, we still have not found the our space, particularly with the context of things that are going on right now, particularly with communities that need to be there in those conversations for decision-making particularly, and that intercultural communication that is necessary for both communities to thrive. Right now, we're still doing that dance, and sometimes it's a fight to pull, to create, okay, it's my space, it's your space. But if we want to really say that we are the multicultural, we are the inclusive society that I believe we can be, we need to find that third space between ourselves. So I would say one, deep self-reflection on who you are, how do you hold power, how are you creating a space, and what are the prejudices that guide your behavior? And then secondly, creating a third space where you can have that dance and build a world or a place or a country where everyone can actually belong.
Thank you.